Hi guys, thank you so much for watching. Today I want to share with you an updated elephant ear, Colocasia, Alocasia type of video. So if you've been following me, you know that I am overwintering a few elephant ears from outside. My big colocasias that I was growing in ground, I actually cut them down to the bulb and I dried them and am storing those. These, however, that I'm going to show you today, I am keeping as houseplants just to see how they, I know they'll do fine because I've done it before, but I just did not feel like breaking these ones down, and I wanted to kind of keep them for some extra greenery over winter. You know how those winter months can get dreary and just feel so long. Well, plants help with that, and that's why I love to keep plants all year round, but especially during the winter time when it's just like it feels never ending. So anyways, let's get started with this one. I got this plant over summer on clearance from Lowe's. I think it was originally like 16 and I got it for like $6 or $7, but it grew so much. This plant was never actually planted in ground outside. I kept it in a pot. I didn't fertilize it. The only thing I did was make sure that it was watered all summer long. And then I ended up repotting it in this pot right before bringing it in the house. At the time of repot, it actually probably should have gone in a pot that was a little bit bigger than this, but this is all I had available, so I'm going to be repotting it probably in the spring. Because I just repotted it, so I'm just gonna give it some time in this pot, but I'll probably put it in something much deeper and not necessarily wider, but definitely a deeper pot for this guy here. But he's doing wonderful. I've watered him only one time since he's been indoors. It's probably gonna average out to about once a month of watering for this one. And that's a full watering where water comes out of the drain hole, not just a little dribble of water for this plant. But this one I believe is an Alocasia. I'm not exactly sure of the variety, but it's doing so well. It's given me one new leaf, as you can see here. With the Alocasia, the veining is much more prominent, and what I've noticed between the Alocasia and the Colocasia is that the leaves point more upright. So let me see if you can see that. So like when the leaves come out and then when they are mature, they stay in that kind of more upright position, whereas the Colocasia, they kind of have their leaves like turned down, kind of like dog ears. So yeah, so this new leaf here is gorgeous. I can already feel right here that there will be a new leaf coming soon, and that's kind of how this plant grows. The new leaf comes out of the old leaf, and it's kind of like that, kind of like a stacking type of thing, if that makes sense. But anyway, so this one actually has a baby back here. Okay. So this one actually has a baby back here that's growing. There was one other baby, but it ended up getting like, I think I chopped it like after replanting or something, but it has not popped back up. I think it will probably push out a new leaf here, maybe in the spring. But yeah, so these guys make offsets. If you're familiar with the elephant ear type of plants, this is an offset. So if I dug this bulb up, I would be able to break this little plant off right here, and it would have its own little bulb and roots, and I'd be able to put that in a separate pot, which in spring, if this little guy here looks like he's mature enough to, you know, be on his own, I might go ahead and just pop him off of there and let him be his own plant. Okay, so that is enough with this one. I'm gonna move on to the next plant. All right, you guys, so here is the next Alocasia. I'll put the exact name on the screen because I cannot pronounce it and I don't want to butcher it, even though I'm not afraid to butcher plant names. This one, I'm just gonna put it up on the screen. Anyway, so I actually bought this plant as a house plant late fall. Well, it's late fall now, early fall. And I do plan on putting it outside next year. They seem to just all plants seem to do a lot better if they get some outside time, depending on your climate. It could be spring through, December, just depending on where you live. For me, September is usually the latest point where I'll have plants out full time. I start to kind of start overwintering them, getting them ready to spend their time inside. Anyway, back to this plant. It is doing so well. You notice that it is variegated. And if you have any experience with variegated plants, you know that the white part does not live for very long. This recently had an all white leaf. That leaf probably survived for about 2 months, I'd say, before it started to show deterioration. The white areas of the foliage are not able to produce any food for the plant. So as a lot of you may know, that the white portion of the plants, if you have an all white leaf, or areas of the plant that are white, they do not photosynthesize. There's no way for them to make any food for the plant, and so the rest of the green area is what is sustaining the plant. So the white areas tend to die off. How long it takes for them to die off, that just depends on the plant. But I have recently read that there are some plants that have evolved to where the white area is able to photosynthesize, which I thought was super cool. I'll include a link in the description for anyone who wants to go and read more about that. So I keep this plant in bright indirect light. It does get a little bit of direct light at certain points of the day, but it's nothing that is, especially now in the winter, it's not very harsh lighting. It's east facing light. As far as watering, I water this probably every week and a half. Elephant ears like to have moist soil, but it is winter. And they're not growing as much or as quickly, so I don't want to keep them saturated constantly. So this plant is about every 1.5 to 2 weeks I'll go ahead and water it fully, as opposed to the other Alocasia that I showed you that I'm watering probably once a month. That's a much bigger plant. It has a lot more soil that has to take time to dry down, where you have this smaller pot, it's going to dry out a lot quicker, especially based on how much light you're giving it and how close it is to your heating unit. So this plant is pretty close to my heating unit, and it does dry it out much faster. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the next elephant ear. So here is another Alocasia. This, I believe, is Alocasia California. I'll double check that and put it on the screen. But I left the yellow leaves on this plant on purpose for this video because I wanted to show you guys what happens when you bring a plant that has spent the summer outside, indoors, and just let you know that this is normal, it's okay. Don't freak out if you have yellow leaves. One of the checks that I do if I see a yellow leaf is, one, what has the past few weeks of this plant been like, or the past months? What has my care been for this plant? I also do a pest check, so I'm checking to see if there are, anything like spider mites, thrips. I don't see any of that on here. I also question, when's the last time I watered? How often am I watering? How much light is this plant getting? Those are some of the things that run through my mind when I get a yellow leaf. But my diagnosis for this is just the fact that, one, this plant is back inside from the outdoors. The humidity is less in here, and I have my heating on, so it's a lot drier, especially in the room that this plant is in. It is enclosed. We close the doors every day. Well, we keep this door closed all day unless we're having a get together, and then the door to the kitchen we keep closed as well unless we're coming back and forth, because we like to keep the cats out of this room. So keeping the doors closed keeps the cats out of here. Anyway, so knowing that this plant spent the summer outside in those conditions leads me to believe that there's no issue here. This is just older leaves dying off, and that's a normal part of, you know, the plant process too. The older leaves don't last forever. They do die off. Now, I would be more concerned if this plant was not putting out new growth, which it is. And then if the new growth was yellowing and dying back. So all the leaves that are turning yellow are older leaves. These are leaves that were probably unfurled outside. So this is not a concern. If you also kept plants outside and then they came back in and then you're seeing yellowing and older foliage death, that's okay. Just go ahead and cut it off and then just move on with life. So this plant, the care is similar. It gets bright and direct light from the windows over there. I water it when it is mostly dry, and right now it is pretty dry. There is a line of, I call it demarcation, I don't know if that's the right term, but where the soil separates from the pot. And then that tells me, without having to stick my finger in the pot, that this soil, at least in the top area, is starting to dry. And so when I see that, I go ahead and do a finger check. I don't usually stick my fingers down 2 inches into the soil. I don't really need to do that, but if you're a new plant parent, that is probably a good process for you. I talked about it with the other Alocasia, and so that is a good check for anyone else who is inexperienced with houseplants and watering and things like that. All right, so I'll prune these off a little later. I don't need to do it right here. You guys probably all know what pruning looks like. Just scissors, snip, snip, and then just move on with life. Also, another tip is after you're watering a plant, and like when you water something, that's your time to, you know, check the foliage, check for pests, do pruning, any sort of maintenance that your plant might need. Doing that during the watering process is a good kind of routine to have. And also, you can see that this plant, the foliage is kind of moving over to that way. One good thing to practice is after you're done watering your plant and doing your plant checks, just to rotate the plant. That helps for even growth all the way around, and it helps, you know, just have a better looking plant as opposed to this one that is just kind of, all the leaves have moved into the direction of the sun. So I've been kind of bad at rotating, but anyways. But I just noticed this little leaf here has some variegation on it, which is pretty cool. Anyways, let's move on to the next elephant ear. Last but not least is this Alocasia Regal Shield. If you followed over the summer, then you know that I pulled this out of the compost bin. The mother plant of this, I kind of got sick of it because it kept spider mites, and that's the thing with elephant ears and why I don't keep a ton in my house, because they are a spider mite magnet. So one of the practices I put in place is with every watering, I am doing foliage checks, I'm checking the soil for any pests, and then if there is anything, I am separating it and treating it for whatever issue that it has. If there's some sort of pest issue, you definitely want to separate this plant from all of your others and treat it appropriately based on the type of pest that it has. So anyway, this plant is doing really, really well. The growth has slowed down because it is inside. The same care process for this one as well. Water when the soil is mostly dry or halfway dry, and then just, you know, keep the leaves clean. So one of the things that I do along with the other processes that I told you guys is I clean off the foliage. So if I'm taking this to the sink to water, I'm also hosing down the leaves, getting the soil moist, and then doing all of my other checks on this plant. And then again, rotating this when I put it back into its place. But this plant is doing really good. It's not showing me any signs of issues, so I don't have to dump it in the compost. So far, we'll see how next year looks. But yeah, so this is about it. So I have one more space that I want to show you guys really quick. So right now we're in my laundry room, actually the laundry room slash bathroom, basement bathroom. So I want to show you guys what my elephant ears look like, the ones that I have planted in ground. I'll link the video so if you want to watch it of how I stored them, but I'm gonna give you guys an update on what they look like. So let's go check it out. So it's a mess in this bathroom. We don't use it. Storing some bulbs down here. These are my dias. Don't look at them, they look awful. I think they're goners. That's okay. So these bags here are elephant ears. Let me go ahead and open one up and pull out a bulb. So here's a bulb here. It looks amazing. It's dry. This portion is dry. It looks fabulous. I can tell that this had a little bit of rot at some point during the summer or fall, but it looks really, really good. It dried nice and hard, and that's what I look for in my bulbs. This one here looks really good. It's nice and dry. This guy will be perfect to start next year. I usually start my bulbs in February. Let's just open another bag and see. I also have my amaryllis in here, so there's a lot of like soil and stuff that I need to get cleaned up. So here's another bulb. It looks fabulous. Nice and firm, nice and dry. This will be a really, really good one for next year. I see some little nodes here. Looking really, really good, you guys. Wonderful. All right, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure, if you have questions, leave me some comments. I'm happy to help you. If you want to, you can reach out to me on Instagram. I'm happy to help you there. I also have been working on my website. It's linked below. I would love for you guys to check it out and let me know what you think. I've got a lot of plant care posts on there, all kinds of stuff. I'm working on it constantly, so it's always gonna be having new posts each week. So yeah, all right guys, thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.